I guess we'll get going. It was good that you came on first because your date is up first. Um,
Yep.
After you, we're
Can
sort of looking at Matt's timeline, and then we're sort of looking at David's timeline and his breakdown of those additional 75 days that we've all talked about from the 1260 up to 1335. So I guess on your timeline, tonight could be the night, brother.
Yeah, it's morning for me.
Yeah. Well, Israel's night, sunset.
Yeah. Israel at night here in about an hour.
Yeah, they have a very early sunset now because daylight saving summer's finished. That's an interesting point. October 27, sunset finished. So we have that verse come into play about summer has finished and we're not saved. Uh, Certainly ticks that box for us at any rate.
Yeah, and also they thought to change times and seasons fits as well because it's kind of an indicator as to when we're at, which is the time where they change time. And so it's actually right in the middle because by this Sunday, it's 1 week apart. Israel changes time, and then the United States changes time here on Sunday. So we're 1 week apart.
Yeah. So tonight, for anybody who's watching, we're looking. We've sort of, as best that we can, we've established that the twinkling of an eye is probably sunset. It could be civil, it could be astronomical, twilight. All those times are within an hour of each other, but we would say it's probably sunset biblically. The day starting at sunset. So tonight's high watch is for sunset on the 29th in Israel, which becomes the 30th at sunset, and then again at midnight, essentially. So this is the live. That'll start the 30th, which is Mike's highest watch because he's looking for, on his timeline, we hope it's a rapture, but we're looking for an event before the flood date, which is October 31st, November 1st. So if you want
Hmm.
to throw in where you're seeing things at the moment, Mike, I noticed you just did a video recently. Nobody's had time to watch that yet, but I saw in the comments everybody mentioned it. I guess it's pretty exciting times. I think a big question for everybody is, where do we look post November 2nd or November 1st?
I never have every date. These are high watch days. They're not rapture days. The math works out beautifully. Uh, David, the watchman, did it. Tabernacle, is it? I can't recall. It's in my video. The guy's YouTube. He just did it. The 1,260 days, and it all matches perfectly from Halloween. So it's a high rapture watch day. I would love to see us on here talking, like David's video where everybody just disappeared. I would love to see that happen while we're on here live, but we're going to keep watching. We're going to keep trying to figure it out. God hasn't said, "Thus saith the Lord." It hasn't happened. But what's unique about Halloween is almost all cultures around the planet. What is there a Halloween in your country, in
No,
Australia?
we don't really celebrate it, although it is becoming more common, particularly over the last 10 years. I notice there are a few houses in my area with Happy Halloween signs up, and people are starting to take it on board, but that's typical of sort of Americanization of the world via movies and that sort of stuff. Eventually, you get that creep in.
So no, that's not what I mean. By in your culture, is there a Day of the Dead for November
Ah,
the first
okay.
type thing?
No, not really. No, you'd have to.
Okay.
Yeah, because we are fairly multicultural anyway, so we see all of those, events or reasons for Halloween, but we don't officially see Halloween celebrated. I guess our culture, essentially, if you went back to our original culture, would be Aboriginal, and I'm not, I'm not sure of any cultural associations with the flood and the Aboriginals, but I could be wrong. I might have-
Okay. I got I got a call kind of messed me up. So from my studying, most cultures do recognize something occurred around Latins. It's called Dia de los Muertes. It's the day. True, they're all dead after the flood begins. You know, they drown, they die.
Yeah.
Um, Biblical books, which I like reading, don't think they belong in the Bible. I think the Bible is complete, but I do read them. And in those books, they talk about how bad it was leading up to it, and the day of it was really bad. So, like I said, most people they'll leave all their timelines behind and then view Halloween as being the second month and 17th day, Heshvan 17.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, hi, Dunamis is in here. Seen a few channels in here.
The interesting thing that I find at the moment, I'll just really quickly summarize Brother Matthew's timeline now. His latest video for me was a really, really good video. It explained everything perfectly. But the crux of it for Brother Matthew, that's a billboard for Christ. The crux of his video is that we have.
I think that's the YouTube I pushed. I think he's the
Uh,
one that did the math on the 1260 as well, right?
yeah, Matthew did it as well.
I
Right. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So
Joe's
he
619's in here.
the
Sorry.
way he broke it up was November, sort of October 31st, November 1st is our start date. Then our
Mm-hmm.
midpoint is 2028, April 14. And then another 1,260 days on top of that brings us to, just where have I put my notes? Hold on. Oh, I've got a little pad of notes here. That brings us to September 26, 2031. Now, Matthew's take on the 1290 and the 1335 days are that they are two markers that occur after the tribulation finishes. So they would be on October 26, 2013 for the 1290, and December 10th, which is Hanukkah 2031. Sorry, the other one was 2031 as well. December 10th, 2031. So Matthew's take is that the 1260 and the 1260 are indeed the 7 years, and because we see only this year between 2024 and 2031, we see only in that period of time we can start on the flood date and finish on atonement 2,520 days later. So as we
Yeah,
see it now, everything is lined up too perfectly with all the world signs, with the Psalms generation and the midpoint of the tribulation for Israel. It's almost hard to see how mathematically we could go past this point, really. I'm sure if we do, we'll, of course, continue to watch, and no doubt we will get another stepping stone sign. But at the moment, I don't think I've seen everything lined up more perfectly. How would you see that?
me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I watched his video this morning. I didn't remember the name of the YouTube. I'm terrible with names. His name you say is Matthew. What's his
Yeah.
YouTube again?
Brother Matthew, that's at a billboard for Christ.
Billboard for Christ. I watched it this morning, and I liked it. And I had, of course, made a video. David had made a video. We're all the Holy Spirit's guiding us to this for some reason. So something huge is going to happen today or tomorrow, just prior to the anniversary of when Adam was judged and sinned. He did it on the and then God brought judgment on man, or well, the world at that time, and saved Noah, which he's representative of the tribulation saint because he's going through tribulation. So I watched his video, and he places his 30 days different than I did. He's right. 1,260 days from today will bring us to April
Yeah.
and 30 days later will bring us to May 13th. May 13th would be the last day. That's one day before they turn 80 years old, where they have to flee to
Yeah,
Petra.
that's in.
So that, in my opinion, 1,260 and those 30 is the 1,290. There's some indicator in there where there's this 30-day gap. And somebody said in my YouTube comment section, what if that 30-day gap is the half an hour of silence? And I'm like, okay, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. So now if you count from there and go forward, you land on the 1,335 days is a part of the 1,260 days. You land on Hanukkah, which for me, Hanukkah is always at nightfall in December the 8th, always, it never changes. But ironically, in 2031, guess when Hanukkah is?
Yeah.
It matches.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what we notice at the moment, this crazy alignment that only seems to occur between now, 2024, and
correct.
2031. Now, it's also interesting. We had times in 2022, 2023, where we were so certain, but we missed all this critical stuff. We missed all these stepping stones, and we've only gained those with the progression of time. It's not something I don't think we could have intuited back in 2021. We had to step through this process. So I truly believe this has really been a refinement process, a time where some wheat and tares definitely has been separated, because it hasn't been an easy watch.
Yeah.
It hasn't been an easy watch. It sure has been a long watch. So
No, I've been building timelines for so long, and then when I landed on this one, I was really shocked. It amazed me. So in short, if you're doing your math, this is what I think. I think the 1,260 is a part of the 1,290, and I think the other 1,260 is a part of the 1335. And when you do that, it rather than trying to stack them, they encompass, and it literally it's amazing how it falls.
yeah, I see your point. Whereas what Brother Matthew does is he has in his theory, and either could be right, both could be wrong. I mean, either could be wrong, or we just don't know. This is all speculation. Matt has them running concurrently, both starting at the midpoint of the tribulation, which is April 13, 14, and they both end outside of the tribulation, but they're two markers for outside of that period. And his speculation is what they may be marking outside of the tribulation period, perhaps a gap between the end of the tribulation and the beginning of the millennial reign, or we don't know. But it's all speculation. But what we have noticed, regardless of whether we do the Matthew's way, David's way, or various other watchmen's ways, we seem to have come up with a definitive start point for now, and only being able to apply it in these next 7-year periods. It's pretty crazy to start it outside of this year. Say to start it in 2025 would mean we fall outside of that lovely flood 7-year later atonement type alignment that Matthew brought out.
Yeah. David, is David the Watchman coming on or no?
I'm going to give it a
Or
try.
does this only allow for 2 people?
It only allows for 2, but I think I can end yours and add David's in. So I might give that a try. Either David or Matthew. I'll see who's there. And
yeah, I want to hear what Matthew thinks about the 1,290 with the 30-day gap in between April 13th and May 13th.
Yeah,
if that resonates with him.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll take you off. I think I just press exit for you. And if Matthew's there, try that link again. See if that gives you a login. But thanks for coming on, Mike, and we'll continue on with the live through till sunset. And hopefully it'll be maybe one of our last. We've got your watch tonight, and we've got sort of through to November the 1st. So we do have a couple of days to watch. Hopefully this is it, brother.
I hope so. I mean, literally, yeah. I mean, the numbers match. I hope this is it. I guess we'll find out. I'm going to try not to be driving here. What do we have? 30 more minutes? Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going to be listening to you, and I'm not going to drive
yeah,
for
yeah, it
the,
might be a good idea.
until after.
Yeah,
What's
okay.
another thing is I wonder if 11:11 means anything as far as if it were 11 minutes after sunset in some kind of astronomical timeline too
Yeah,
on
it
that.
could
So
be. I had a look at the sunset and the times the other day. I didn't notice anything significant. Um, but that could be it. It could be an indicator of 11 minutes, 11 seconds after sunset. We don't know. All these
yeah.
things are speculative. We do know everybody's been seeing that number. We just don't know what it
All
means.
right. Thank you for having me. I'll be
All right, bro.
listening in.
See you, mate.
All right. We'll chat with you later. Bye.
Okay. I'm back. Uh, 2 or 3 watch dates. There's tonight and tomorrow night and the next night, essentially. We give ourselves a day aside, usually because of calendars, but also because other timelines are looking at October 31st, November 1st. So we are hoping, we're waiting for our blessed hope. Something just popped up then. Ah,
Can you
there we
see
go.
me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear. And I've done enough talking. So I'll let you just have a quick crack at your 75-day breakdown, those additional 75 days. Just let people know where you're at with the timeline. Obviously, you would have seen Mike's commentary just now, and you would have seen Matthew's. Obviously, you've seen Matthew's video. So you're up to speed with where we're all looking at the moment. So I'll hand it over to you for a bit, David.
Yeah, I think that I'm about 5 minutes behind. So I was just listening to the video and I heard that you're going to try me, and then bink, my camera came on. Um, so you just want me to go through the 12, 60, 30, how I see things?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So first, this is not a rapture watch, at least for me. Watchman watch for the tribulation. Using September 23rd, 2017, Revelation 12 sign as the anchor or the kickoff point for the 7 years of warning during which the watchmen were collectively raised. I realized that there was individual lone watchmen out there, but that was what really kicked us all off into a frenzy. Signs many of us are seeing are pointing to the tribulation starting on or around my wedding anniversary, which is Halloween. Which, as Matt first pointed out to many of us, which is what got me looking in that direction in the first place, is exactly 2,595 days after the Revelation 12 sign. So from the September 23rd, 2017, until Halloween 2024 is 2,595 days. And then to further seek confirmations that those first 7 years were indeed a type and shadow of the coming tribulation, I looked up on what dates each of those intervals fell. So in the interests of time, I did a mashup of things. So you know how I tend to get wordy, so please feel free to interrupt me if anybody has any questions. So using simple math and with an understanding of the intervals of time in books of Daniel and Revelation, you add 1,260 days from the Rev 12 sign in 2017 for the seals judgments, type and shadow. That brought me to March 6th or 7th, 2021. March 6th was the end of the Shabbat of the Red Heifer. It takes place on the Shabbat before Shabbat HaChodesh in preparation for Passover. And in Numbers 19, 1 through 22, it describes the red heifer in the Jewish temple as how the Jewish people purified themselves enough to sacrifice. And that aligns with the third temple being built and the red heifer being sacrificed within the within the first half of the tribulation, which is indeed our understanding.
Yeah.
Then plus 30 days for the silence in heaven type and shadow. That took me to April 5th, 2021, which was the day after Passover. And Passover commemorates the story of the Exodus in which the ancient Israelites were freed from slavery in Egypt. when the Israelites were harpazoed to safety vis-a-vis the Red Sea parting. Passover represents the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled, with the tribulation saints being harvested to be with Jesus, which is followed by the 30 minutes of silence in heaven. And that's why I position the 30 here in my counting and the order of intervals. It still ultimately adds up to 1290, but the 30 goes before the second 1260, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Something that I find very interesting is biblically we always see typology. We know that there's nothing new under the sun, and so usually we expect to see prophecy that hasn't been already completed, sort of a typology of it back in the past. Now, we didn't until just recently really have any mirror for these 12 two lots of 1260 days, or the 1290 and the 1335, until we started to look at the Revelation 12 sign and where the 2595 days actually took us to. And it was so interesting that from that sign it took us right to the flood. So we had our typology, but we really essentially didn't, or weren't able to pick up on that until we got to that very point. It's only just now that we've noticed the foreshadowing and the possible looming events that are to come. Very much hidden, so to speak, until the last moment, which is very reminiscent of the book of Daniel, and the mentioning of how the pages and the understanding of the revelation will be made known, in the last days. It seems it's been kept till the very last weeks.
Yeah, it's amazing that it's always been in our faces too. We just couldn't see it. So whenever I read that the books would be opened, I never really understood what that meant, but now I do.
Yeah, we're in some amazing times, that's for sure. Not too sure how Matthew's going as far as coming on. What are we? We're 1:30 now, so we've got about 22 minutes left until sunset.
Let me make a couple quick more points,
Yeah,
and then I'll wrap up the. I think I stopped at the 30 minutes of silence in heaven.
Yep.
And I've only got a couple more points to make here, so I'll try and keep it short.
Right.
So then you add another 1260 days for the Great Tribulation, trumpets, bowls, woes, judgments, that type, and shadow. Adding 1260 more brought me to September 16th and 17th, 2024, which nothing happened on that day. However, interestingly enough, that day was the end of Rosh Hashanah in 23, where this year, Rosh Hashanah, it was October 2nd through the 4th, with the 2nd being the day of the ring eclipse. And then you add 45 days for the Daniel 12:12, blessed is he that waiteth and cometh, to the 1335 days, type and shadow, which brings us to October 31st. So when you add all those together, then you've got the 2595, which lands right on Halloween. So my personal highest watch date for the tribulation to start is October 31st. And since I'm pre-tribulation, that means that I believe that we fly before the tribulation starts, possibly days, possibly seconds. If that date passes, a couple more things that I'm looking at. So advancing from there, Rosh Chodesh begins at the twinkling of an eye on Halloween, and it ends at the twinkling of an eye or nightfall on Saturday, November 2nd. Right. Also during that window, DJ mentioned to me All Souls Day, which is a Catholic holiday, and I know it's not biblical, but it's worthy of noting as a confirmation, because on November 2nd, that commemorates the faithful departed. All Souls Day is part of a 3-day period of remembrance for the dead, which begins with Halloween and continues through November 1st. And then my last point is I'm also secondarily watching 1111. That's why I'm wearing my Taco Cat shirt, which is chiastic. It's a palindrome, back and forth. So 1111 is the number we've all been seeing. It just so happens that 1111 is 40 days after the 10-2 ring eclipse, wedding ring or betrothal. All I can say is things are heating up, so we need to watch Israel because the Bible is all about Israel. And then how many times do I say last point when I actually have 5 more?
That's
this
right.
one is this one's truly my last point. Yesterday, a commenter on my community page, a user named Humbly Watching, thank you for this. He directed me to Blow the Shofar channel, Brother Daniel, and something interesting he pointed out, Daniel, in Stellarium. I think it was about the 25-minute mark of his latest video, if you want to go see it. He says on 11/11, the moon and Saturn align during nautical twilight, which is daybreak. I looked that up on timeanddate.com, and it shows nautical twilight being 5:46 a.m. In one of my videos, I talk about the twinkling of an eye that Paul was referring to being evening twilight or dusk as night falls. However, morning twilight or sunrise kicks off the 12-hour day interval Jesus describes in John 11:9. Are there not 12 hours in a day? And that ends in the twinkling of an eye after that 12-hour interval. So
That's
it's interesting to me. The
it-
alignment of Saturn and symbolizing Satan, and the moon symbolizing a child or even resurrection. It's very much like the dragon positioning itself to devour the man child as it's born.
And essentially our speculation on the twinkling of an eye has been just that, speculation. We could be totally wrong. And it's interesting that is the complete reverse of what we expect, or what we've studied up until now. But it does line up with something Mike said. I'm just trying to recall. Twinkling of an eye, early morning. Yes, yeah, that's right. Mike was very big on that. Are there not 12 hours in a day? That's a very big point on his timeline.
Yeah, I remember him saying that.
Yeah, so it's interesting that Brother Daniel, as you just mentioned, makes an alignment for the twinkling of an eye being morning, the start of those 12 hours that Mike talks about so often. They're not 12 hours in a day. All right, David. Well, thanks for coming on. What's the time? We're 4:35 in Israel. So we don't have long left. We'll see if we can get Brother Matthew to come on.
All right.
I'll do the
Cheers.
same.
Thanks, Brett. It was good seeing you in person for the first time. I know we've talked for months, but this is the first time I've actually seen you face to face.
Amen. All right, bro. Well, hopefully we'll see each other in the clouds really soon.
All right. God bless.
Take care, Dave. So we're waiting for a possible big event for sunset tonight in Israel. Their summer has ended, as I made note, on October 27th, which changed their timeline again. Their time by an hour as daylight savings finished. So they've got a 4:52 p.m. sunset tonight, and we're currently 4:40, so we've got 12 minutes left.
Oh, can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, gotcha. Only got audio. Have you got your video off?
Oh, I don't know. I'm having a go of it today. What is it looking? Oh, I see. It's completely black now.
Yeah, we can hear you though. That's a start.
We're making progress.
Yeah.
I think I missed some of the live trying to get this set up. Where are we at, brother?
Okay, so we had Mike come on. He told us how he sees our current timeline and his division of those 75 days, etc. David did the same. Mike's sort of very high watches now. David's is now through to sort of November 1st, 2nd, with some outside dates, one being 11/11. So if you just wanted to briefly go over the way you see things. Now, I did summarise that starting October 31st, midpoint April 14, endpoint September 26. But it was with your additional 1290 and 1335 days running concurrently. So if you just want to have a chat about that, go for your life. Floor's yours. I'll watch for comments.
Absolutely. So it looks like we're all on the same page, and whether we're right or wrong, we've been wrong on many occasions, but we all see it line up. And we have already thought that everything lined up perfectly for 2024. I believe this is another confirmation. The 1260 and 1260, I think that everybody can agree, but where we disagree is the 1290 and 1335. It all comes down to how you interpret that Daniel 12 there. It seems like Daniel 12, verse 11, from the time the daily sacrifice is taken away to the abomination of desolation, is 1,290 days. So I kind of interpret that as from both of these events happening, then there will be 1,290 days. I think that some people interpret that as being 1,290 days between those two events.
Good point.
But yeah, that's how I'm seeing it, and an issue that I'm having with that, and not to say that they're wrong or that who knows who's right or wrong, but the issue I'm having with that is if it is from the daily sacrifice taken away to the abomination of desolation, then that means that day one, when the daily sacrifice is taken away, that would be day one of the tribulation.
True.
So
True.
we don't currently have the daily sacrifice taking place unless, and there are some that believe that the rapture itself is the daily sacrifice being taken away.
Yeah, the
Uh,
removal of us being the daily sacrifice, similar to the restrainer, I guess. I remember from your video you mentioned the verse where we were likened to, we were told to present ourselves as a daily sacrifice, and
mhm.
hence there's a link between those. Yeah, it's an interesting point, and it could well be. It's all speculation, and I guess really we've got a 3-day watch period now. And past that, we will need to continue doing exactly what we're doing now, digging and trying to work this out, because we know we're in the season and we know it's a pre-tribulation rapture.
Absolutely.
So you were thinking that your 1290 and 1335 day count, which both occur outside of September 26, 2031, you were thinking
Mhm.
that they are post-tribulation, pre-millennial kingdom events, potentially.
E- Exactly right. So we see that it is connected with the 1335. Whatever it is that happens, 45 days, however that plays out. And it's difficult for me to see someone being blessed when they reach the 1335th day, when however you slice that 1335 day ends up.
Yeah. And in fact, I actually see that wordage suggesting blessed is those that make it to the 1335 days. Not, I see that sort of being tongue in cheek, as in you're lucky. Sorry, mate, you're breaking up a bit. I don't know if we've lost something's gone a bit astray. Anyway, Matt was alluding to blessed are those 1335. I don't see that as meaning it's a, well, it is a blessing that you made it. So I see the wordage as meaning you are very lucky to have made it to the 1335 point, not it's a blessing for you in so much as the ride getting to that point wasn't very pleasant. As you can imagine, if somebody managed to get through the tribulation, breaking up a little bit on my end. I'm not sure whether that's for everybody else. Is everybody else here and Matt okay? Can you believe this? Twice in a row, the live just dropped out. So, I'm going to pray now. Father God, thank you that we've all managed to come together here tonight for the third time on this live, Lord. If this is the time we are about to be raptured, Lord, may we be found worthy, Father, knowing that the only way to salvation is through Jesus our Lord. If this is it, Lord, please find us worthy. We've been waiting for our blessed hope, Father. If this isn't it, Lord, please give us the next stepping stone. Keep us encouraged. Help us to stay strong and faithful, Father God. We are ready to come home, Lord. We truly are. We pray these things in the mighty name of Jesus. It was very interesting how Mike made a connection from Brother Daniel at Blow the Shofar, how he made a connection to the possibility that the twinkling of an eye could be, in fact, in the morning. That's very interesting. Brother David made that connection, didn't he? I've started 3 lives. I've started 3 lives now tonight. My brain only extends to memory back to 2 lives. So yeah, that was a very interesting point, because typically we've studied out that sunset is the twinkling of an eye, but Mike had some, that verse that says, "Are there not 12 hours in a day?" It's just so unusual why that one's just dropped in there. And what we generally notice is when we see verses just dropped in for no reason, like a strange segue in the middle of a sentence to something else and then back to the original conversation, it's usually significant. So are there not 12 hours in a day? That's a very, I believe it's a crucially significant marker by which we established basically the head of the year. And of course that changed by 6 months, but nonetheless it's a crucial marker. So for there to be a connection between the twinkling of an eye possibly being in the morning and that same verse that Mike has pointed out is so significant, there you go. Now, whilst that doesn't, I know that was specific for a day, the 11/11, I think it was, wasn't it? That's not to say that same reasoning isn't correct, completely correct, and we should be looking for the first signs of the sun in the morning, sunrise. So it's all speculation. We're just trying to do our best. Now, as a community of watchmen and women, we try and look into the future. We're not doing retrospective videos where we wait for things to happen and then align them with astronomical signs, etc. That's the job of a different type of watchman. Jarrett over at Supernatural by Design does that sort of work, and let's face it, he's the best out there at it. There's very little point any of us venturing into that field of study when Jarrett does such a good job. What we're trying to do is preempt war. The job of a watchman is to look for war. But that has changed significantly in these last days, because our job, we can see the signs of war everywhere, and we're told that we would see those signs prior to the rapture. So I believe our job as watchmen in these last days is different, and we are actually looking for the rapture. But war will happen slightly after we're raptured. So in looking for the war, we then look some period of time before what we find, assuming that the rapture will occur then. For example, we know we've pretty well worldwide isolated that the flood of Noah occurred on October the 31st, so we're looking for a rapture before then, which was sunset tonight. It hasn't happened, so we continue to watch. We'll continue to watch tomorrow morning. We'll continue to look at the dates that Brother David mentioned, and we haven't even got to the flood day yet. We're the day before it at the moment. People speculate that there could be a rapture tribulation gap. Other people say that there's going to be no gap and the rapture will precipitate the tribulation immediately. I'm more of that camp, to be honest with you, that the rapture will trigger the tribulation. So if that were the case and tomorrow were our last day for the tribulation to begin, then I would expect sunset to be the perfect time tomorrow. It's the twinkling of an eye as we've currently studied, and it is the beginning of where we see the tribulation should start, and that would mean no rapture gap, no tribulation rapture gap. We're raptured tomorrow, sunset, and tribulation begins. Israel certainly is primed, and the world is certainly primed for Satan to hit the ground running with war and all those sorts of things. It's interesting, this crown prince of Persia, when his father died, he declared himself king, who lives in Virginia. He's suddenly come on the scenes. Brother Matthew mentioned to me tonight in Messenger, and also Bubba News brought this up as well, that this two-state solution is being pushed very heavily behind the scenes, and the meetings for that are occurring right now, October 30 to 31. Are we going to see something signed on October 31st? So, all speculation, but we have definitely passed sunset now in Israel for Mike's pre the 31st rapture, unless it's tomorrow morning, and it could be, unless it's nautical or civil twilight in an hour or so's time. So unfortunately, because I was trying to do a live tonight via the phone, I wasn't able to share anybody's music and do the things that we usually do. If I do a live for tomorrow, and I'm not 100% certain that I'm going to, because I kind of like the idea of just sitting back in my chair and being raptured. I also like the idea of this being on video and us being raptured. I 100% know that that is going to happen very soon. I have no doubt, no fear that these days, right now that today's passed, or to the sunset tonight's past, it doesn't mean a lot to me. You know, my highest, really, the day that I'm watching is no rapture gap. Off we go tomorrow. And if tomorrow passes, it's not going to bother me either. I'll continue to look and watch, and we'll continue to search this matter out. There's a crown for us for doing so, crown of righteousness stored for us in heaven, that we can then give back to Jesus. So maybe I'll do a live tomorrow. Maybe I won't. I'll talk to Matthew and David and a few people. Sister DJ behind the scenes. Sister DJ runs the whole kit and caboodle. She's in charge of all three channels, really. She's the boss. DJ. Anyway, I'll talk to her. Maybe we'll do one tomorrow. Maybe we won't. Maybe somebody else will do one tomorrow. We'll see. But please, everybody, go and subscribe to Brother Matthew at A Billboard for Christ. Like, we're working on a timeline that he basically came up with, or nutted out and put down on paper and explained about 2 weeks ago, if you look through his videos. Since then, a lot of other channels have noticed exactly the same thing. Whether they noticed that from Matthew's research or not, I don't know, but they have basically presented exactly the same timeline in the same way that Matthew did. And Matthew's got, what, 650 subs? Are you kidding me? And we have big channels like Repo Man 64, etc., looking at Matthew's research, giving it the thumbs up that it's pretty good, and yet we have a tiny little channel of 650 subs. He should have more than my channel. So get over there and support, because it's the easiest way to plant seeds. When we go, people are going to find our phones. They're going to look on YouTube. They're going to see what we've been doing. They're going to look. They're going to look through our search history, see what we've been searching for in Google, and they will find our YouTube channels and our subscriptions. And every subscription that you make to a channel like Matthew's leaves behind a possible breadcrumb for a tribulation saint. And these people are going to be our family members, right? They're going to be slightly late to the party, but they're going to be our family members. This deal does not stop when we go. There are more that are saved. In fact, we are such a tiny number. Those that get saved after us are the multitude that appear in heaven that no man can count. So this is crucial, and I believe they will get a second. Those that do seek the Lord during that period of time, I believe, will get a double portion of faith, just as we see in Elijah and Elisha. So get over and subscribe to Matthew. Thanks for coming, guys. I'm just going to tell you now, in case there are new people here that aren't saved, we are simply waiting to go to heaven, because Jesus told us in the Bible that he will rescue us from the 7 years that the earth is about to encounter, called the tribulation and the great tribulation, 3.5 year periods, a time worse than the world has ever seen before. To escape this, you cannot do it by your own works. Anything that you've done, either good or bad, there is no escaping this tribulation period, and there is no escaping hell itself. The only way you can escape this tribulation period before it happens, and hell overall for eternity, is to accept that Jesus lived a perfect life. We have all fallen short of the glory of God because we have all committed at least one sin, and it only takes one sin to separate us from God. Everybody's has committed at least one sin, and there is no sliding scale on sin. If you told a lie or you committed murder, it's exactly the same. The thing is, it is sin, any sin, that separates us from God. So once we've committed a sin, we are separate from God, and we are born into a sinful body and a sinful nature and a sinful world. So essentially our default position is the tribulation and is hell. We can avoid that by understanding that God wanted us to be reconciled back to him after the fall. So he put in place a plan by which we could. And that is that he was going to wrap himself in flesh, dwell amongst us as a human named Jesus, our Messiah. He was going to allow himself to be sacrificed, having lived a perfect sinless life. And that sacrifice was found sufficient to the Father, so that we, if we believe that Jesus truly did these things, can be redeemed back to our Father, and Jesus pays that sin debt for us, which is eternal separation from God. So we believe, we confess with our mouth, Jesus is Lord, and you can do this. It's better if you do this by yourself, because God really listens to the prayers that we say in our closet. He's not so keen on the ones that we scream out on standing on the street corners like the Pharisees. He wants to hear our genuine heart, and generally those sorts of things we say in private. So find somewhere quiet by yourself. Confess to God that you are a sinful person. You have committed at least one sin in your life somewhere. In confessing that, you also admit before God that that has separated you from him. You confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and God himself, and that he did live a perfect life, something that you were unable to do. You confess that you're a sinner, and you confess that you believe Jesus lived a perfect life that you couldn't live. And then you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead on the third day, defeating death, sin, and the grave. And when you do that, you are saved. It is by faith. It is through grace. It is a gift. So it is not something that we have done. The Bible tells us very clearly God set it up so that we could not boast, so that all the glory and all the boasting was to go to the only person that managed to achieve the perfect requirements of our Lord, and that is Jesus, our Saviour. So confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord. Truly believe in your heart that he did all that, died for you to pay the debt that you should be paying. You should be hanging on that cross, not him. Believe that he did that for you, that God raised him from the dead on the third day, and you are saved. Let the Holy Spirit then guide you into what works he wants you to do, into how he wants you to change your life, etc. But it will happen. It's not something that will happen overnight. And you don't need to change overnight. So don't come before the Father thinking that you need to present yourself as perfect. Come as you are. Come as a sinner. Jesus wants those that recognize that they are sinners and that he truly isn't. I won't hide if these dates pass. We will continue to look and watch and wait. So I encourage you all just to stay strong, be ready, in so much as the only way that you can be ready is to know that you've done nothing to deserve this gift, that none of your works were found sufficient. Even the best of your works were found to be filthy rags. That's where we're at. We need to clothe ourselves with the righteousness of Jesus, and that means taking off all our own works, even the ones that we consider ourselves to be good works, because, according to the Bible, those works, the best works that we do, are but filthy rags before the Lord, and we need to be clothed in righteousness. So give it all to Jesus, guys. It's the only way you're going to get to heaven. It's that simple. So God bless. I'll end the live now. I'll keep you posted via the community tab with any updates, any developments that we might see in Israel, and any news pertaining to whether we're going to do another live. At least this one broke in 3 nice segments. We got Mike and David done. We got some of Matthew's audio. That was a bit sketchy, so I suggest you go and have a look at his last videos. They are fantastic. Share them as much as you can. Share them on Facebook. Share them on all the on the platforms that you generally don't share those things. Time is very, very short. We are running out of time, guys. I'll see you all again soon. God bless. Thanks, Mike, Dave, Matthew, DJ, and everybody that joined us.
All right. I think that's everything.
Why wouldn't you do it? The thumbs up.
Oh, it's grown-up stuff. Well, back when I was in the Marines, they taught us that if they ever drop a really big bomb, they told us to hold up your thumb just like this. And if the cloud is smaller than your thumb, now you run for the hills.
And if it's bigger than your thumb?
They told us not to bother running.
Do you think it's gonna happen?
I certainly hope not. But us cowpokes, we take it as it comes, right?
Can I have a slice, Dad?
Now, let me see if I can't rustle you up a piece. All right, one piece of cake coming up from my favorite cowgirl.
Is it your thumb or mine?
That's smoke, Janie. It's just a fire.